financial management, looking at their process and making sure they have a sound process that produces the financial reports, which is, of course, is the income statement, the cash flow, and the balance sheet. And once they produce them on a timely and their accurate basis, we teach them how to read them and understand them and how to see the story in the numbers. And then from that story, how to make decisions that will create wealth for them. And then once they're able to make those decisions, how to forecast the impact and show them how they can build the business valuation and create overall wealth for them. So that's the second thing. And that's, like I said, another rich topic.
It's a very vital part of the business, too.
Yes. And then the third, since you got me going, is on people management. In fact, the biggest challenge that many small businesses have today is labor, keeping and attracting good people. The unemployment rate is low. I find that the banks are more receptive to loans now than they've been in the past, but conversely, with a stronger economy, it's hard to keep and attract good people. So how do you recruit right? How do you interview right? How do you hire right? How do you manage people the right way and keep them motivated and inspired? And then if things don't work out, if you have to let them go, what's the right way to let them go? So that's another consulting practice. So that's generally the three. And then inside of that, there are things like the right legal forms of a business. There could be special topics, maybe a little bit on tax and legal concerns, although I generally refer them to lawyers and tax accountants on things like that. A lot of one-off things, too, off to the side.
So, but you have the resources that you can then help them tap into if you don't provide that specific consulting there through your center. That's good to know.
Well, one big thing that people come to us is on government contracting. How do I break in the state and local and federal contracts and get that, the biggest procurement of goods and services in the world is the U.S. government. How can I tap into that? There's another person, my counterpart, Patricia Simpson, that supports that. It's called PTAC.
I've met Patricia, yes.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's another one in export marketing, specialized service. So we've got really a rich set of expertise and tools so we can help clients. You mentioned in the beginning, grow and prosper.
Correct.
We've got the tools, the capabilities to help the small businesses grow and prosper.
Well, it sounds like all of the consulting that you provide through the SBDC, I know myself when I started in business back in 1998, I had no clue really how to even run a business. I got on board with this guy here. We weren't even married. And I got on board because I was going to help do the marketing. And I found the SBDC information through one of our local chambers. And I started looking at some of the different workshops. I thought, they offer this information at no charge. I can go in, I can network with other people, learn information that I know that's going to be beneficial to help me grow my business if I want to continue doing this. And I was just amazed at the type of assistance we were receiving when we would go to these different types of workshops. What types of businesses do you find seeks your assistance the most or that you're working with?
Well, I'll do it in the categories. The primary market for us happens to be mostly existing businesses that are in there.
Oh, businesses that are already...
Businesses that started, but they're kind of stuck. They have issues, haven't been able to think. They don't really know how to grow the business. They're at a level, maybe they're operating a few years or so, but they don't know what steps to take next. Or they've been established, they've been in business 20, 30 years, and they're accustomed to doing things a certain way, and they don't know how to grow it. They're kind of stuck in a pattern, and we try to help them get unstuck and think of new and creative ideas to improve it. That is, we call those SMEs, small, medium enterprises that are already in business. Generally, the clients in that category that come and see us do not have a controller, a financial controller. They don't have a marketing manager, and the owner's been trying to do everything themselves and not doing really well at everything because, it's very hard to do everything yourself. And so we try to get them to work on the business and not in the business and then look at the big picture and draw them out. And we act as a sounding board and give them activities and provide them with information and coach them along the way. That's one. The second would be what we'll call pre-venture and startups, people just getting going. And since I'm at the college, I'll get college students. Or when we teach at Patrick Air Force Base, we'll get transitioning military veterans. And quite a bit of clients are transitioning military veterans from Patrick Air Force Base and the surrounding community. And then third, career source, with people who have been downsized, lost their jobs, and need to create an income source. We'll help those people. And in that case is we try to just provide a lot of education in the areas I mentioned earlier. Here's what you need to do to get started. And we'll try to keep it very simplistic and say, okay, here's the 4 things you need to do. Here's how you register your business and legally set it up. And then here's how you might approach the market and find your sweet spot and then approach it and then penetrate that market. And here's information on competition. And here's information about how much you can be expected to make based on this industry and this market and this location. So it's not, we take away a lot of the guesswork for them. And we try to focus on research, planning, and taking calculated risk versus trial and error and hoping for the best.
Sounds like a plan. Right then. And I know that we both had the pleasure of meeting Michael E. Gerber at a conference we were at in Orlando, who wrote the E-Myth Revisited. And I know in his concept of the book, he talks about how so many people start businesses because they are passionate about what they enjoy doing, but they don't understand all the other components of a business. So I can see the SBDC actually assisting with helping an individual that has a passion that either they're starting or they're in an existing business where they realize, okay, they're great at what they do, but they're neglecting all those other forms of their business. So do you have a process when they come to consult with you to help them see the big picture?
Yeah, generally a typical consulting engagement, the first one, well, first, if they're coming out blue and they haven't started a company, we ask them to take a business startup class.
Okay.
That the former chair of SCORE teaches for us, Larry Smith. He does an excellent job. So we'll have them take the class. After the class, they'd have a 1-hour consulting engagement with me. I'll have looked at their history. I'll have done preparation work. I'll look at their use of social media. If they have a website, I'll try to find out everything I can with the individual. And both from the class attendance and from my own preparation, I'll have a foundation, have a conversation with them. From there, I'll listen to them. I'll ask questions. We call it Socratic questioning. I'll ask questions and drill information from them. And then I'll take them through a business model concept to see where they're strong and where they're weak. And it'll be marketing, finance, and people management. I'll try to understand their vision and their goals, personal goals and objectives within that vision, and then build into an activity plan when they leave. They'll always leave with homework. Generally, they'll leave with homework, and I'll leave with some research, follow-up research. I'll send them the research. I'll expect that they do the homework. Then they can come back. Then we can have another discussion. And we can meet every week, every month. Some people call me every day for help.
Wow.
As long as they want. And they can use the resource, and there's no charge for it. Generally, what will happen is I give them the homework, and sometimes it's the dog ate my homework, and they don't come back for a while. But we work to the owner's pace. They don't work to our pace. We'll work to their pace.
Okay. Well, it's their dream. It's their drive. Right. They have to be willing to do the work. I mean, Richard does a lot of consulting and coaching. He does the same. Same thing with our clients. You know, they have to be willing to do the work if they want to see the success. So
no, it's absolutely, and you can only move as fast as they're willing to move.
Right. Exactly right.
And the willingness of, are you doing the homework that you left for them? Are you doing the reading? Are you setting things up and so on and so forth?
An example, many of them come, not, but many of them an entrepreneur wants to do things. They're not a person that's going to analyze and sit at a computer. They want to do. They want to take action and make things happen. And generally what I find is they have very strong operational knowledge and a passion for their product or service they're offering. They have a very strong passion for it and have an operational sense of what they need to do. But they do miss the marketing. You can't start a business and just expect customers to show up.
That's all right.
You have to acquire those customers. So that concept is a little missing. And the concept of doing market research to do it correctly is missing. Then in financial management, it's very common that a knowledge of the income statement, the balance sheet, and the cash flow statement is missing. And so when I go through and do the questioning, I'll find their areas of weakness, and then we'll help them. Or if they need to get employees, and I'll have a job description, where's the most likely source for the employees? I said sometimes I'll tell them to go to Brevard Achievement Center. Sometimes it's Career Source. Sometimes it's Patrick Air Force Base. Sometimes it's FIT or Eastern Florida State. Sometimes it's Use Digital, going to Career Builder or something like that to get there. But a lot depends. Yeah. But, we'll go through it. I'll find out just by asking questions and getting their background and doing preparatory work before the meeting.
Oh, and it obviously shows you're a pro at what you do. You've obviously been there doing it for a long time now across the board. But, it still is beneficial for somebody to come just have a conversation with you about their business, because we're coming out of a not bad economic time, but a slow economic time. And all the indicators right now looks like we're going to be able to speed up over the next year. Well, that's a major shift in what your planning process is coming on. This is all going to be industry dependent.
Yeah.
But those are good topics to come in and spend a few minutes with you.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, because we try to get people not to look in the rearview mirror when planning the business, but forward thinking.
Very good.
And said, when you look at Brevard County, what's happening here? Brevard County, you have the economic development at Port Canaveral. You have the Melbourne Airport with the economic development that's taken place in all the industries here. Property values in some location are rising double digits on an annual basis. You see a significant drop in the unemployment rate. You have disposable income increasing. And it is a very much the record number of tourists coming through Orlando Airport last year. So you have a tailwind. You're not facing a headwind right now. You have a tailwind. And how do you leverage the tailwind to capture that growth? And then how do you look at it, too? I mean, you could be in an industry that's growing phenomenally and you're going maybe single digits. You're actually losing market share.
There you go.
Or you could be flatline and you're in a declining industry, perhaps, say, like the printing industry. I came from a copier and printing company, Xerox, and they are seeing a declining, consistent decline because how much printed output is coming out. You could still make money, but if you hold your own in a declining market, you've actually grabbed the market share. Yeah. We try to get that outside perspective and trends into their thought process.
I mean, that was a great way to say that. But when it's coming down, but economic times are changing. Now, whether they ultimately go up or stay stagnant or go down, but you got to have a plan for each of the three.
Right. And you have to have a contingency plan. There's always a plan B. Plan A doesn't work. What's your second option? What's your third option? What are you going to do? How are you going to be fast on your feet?
Yeah.
What kind of support network do you have? Famous thing, it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes a village to create a company. You need a strong support network.
It really does. And I know myself, I've seen in the trend in the industry that we're in, from when we started in 1998 with the web agency then we had an IT company, then we went into a full marketing agency where we were actually very much involved in the builder industry. We saw what happened in 2008. So we have had to make changes throughout the many years we've been in business. So one of the books that I actually pick up every January 1st, I actually pull out my Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson.
Yeah, I read that. It's a great book. Yeah.
It is. It's just a short read. You can read it in an hour, but it really helps you look at how change is always happening and how we have to be ever growing. In order to continue ever growing, we have to adapt and be ready for the change and make sure that we're not just, as they say, staying and waiting for the cheese.
Yeah. So an example I use to the change. I mean, I could talk about industry trends like 3D printing, artificial intelligence, drones, etc. But an example of the change, they'll come in and they'll say, I got this tough question. I'm looking for an answer. What I'll do is I'll pull out my smartphone on my ALO app, which is the Google Intelligent Assistant app, which is free. You can pull it from Google Play. And I'll take them. I'll say, well, let's ask the question in this. And it's amazing how good the answers are.
That's cool.
And, so that's technology. Period. You don't have to go to your local library, make copies, highlight articles, and have them typed anymore, right? That was 40 years ago.
That is
now
so
you
cool.
can use your smartphone as an aid and tool in doing research and also reaching out to people.
So if someone that's listening, and we're going to have our podcast up here later today, and they're listening to this on the replay, how can they contact you in the Florida, the FSBDC, and start engaging with you to come in and get some assistance if they want to, or find out about the classes, and what type of classes are you offering right now?
Well, the easiest way is, did I mention the Google Assistant? No, but the easiest way is for us, it's you go to Eastern Florida State, SBDC at Eastern Florida State. You just Google that. You're going to come up.